Hi, and welcome to a Waking Moment podcast. I am Danny Palacio, and I am grateful that you are here. And I appreciate you listening. And if you watch the episodes, wow, thanks for that too. So, I have been so excited to share this topic with you. It is something that I have had in my life for quite a long time. And it's the foundation, honestly, of a lot of my uh, willingness to do what is being called to do. It's that energy that I feel adds to my life force, and it's called Reiki. And Reiki is a Japanese word, and it means universal life force. And it's two kanjis. So the kanjis are the characters that are in the Japanese language. And those two characters actually can mean several different things and how they are put together. Um, but in this particular experience with Reiki, it is an opportunity to feel rooted into the earth and also connect to the spiritual unseen energies that are really based on unconditional love, which is why it's universal, 100% all inclusive, and life force, meaning that it adds and comes from a place that illuminates, that heals, and that allows for that energy to move exactly where it's meant to be. And when I was preparing to do this episode, I'd written out this outline and I wanted to put together a presentation because there's so many beautiful um, things to look at, like the kanji, the man that is credited for birthing it back into the world in Japan. And there's also so many lovely images when it comes to what does the energy of Reiki feel like when you can look at pictures. And I woke up this morning and I was preparing to do this podcast, and I just got a strong message that it isn't about any of that. It is about what this energy is. And so I want to let you know that there are some wonderful links in the summary below if you're online. Um, and you can go and take a look at those. There's a ton of information. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by it. I want you to just experience it for your own unique self if you choose to, and allow that experience to be the perfect experience for you. That is part of the practice of Reiki. And I will share just a little bit of the structure and the way in which Reiki is passed on from one to another. And I will also share my own personal experiences with being a Reiki practitioner, being a Reiki master, and being a Reiki teacher. And I will also explain what you might expect in a Reiki session if you choose to go and find a Reiki practitioner and have a session. And lastly, I might get to a place where I'll share if you're interested in actually getting an attunement. That's what they're called. There's three of them. There's three attunements. So I might get more into that as we move through. So um, I hope that you'll continue to listen, because Reiki is, again, like I said, it's one of the foundational ways in which I started to really access my own energy and the universal energy. And so first, there's a couple that you can call them schools of thought or schools of Reiki. Sometimes I call them lineages. Um, so the Usui Reiki is the Reiki that came from Japan. There's a long story about how and why it came and who did it and all of that. And I'm not going to go into that so much. I just want to bring your awareness that as Reiki has been demystified, remember it was a pass down from one to another. It was never written down. It was taught and it was felt for that individual, right? Opening up their energy to receive this energy for themselves and for others. And it wasn't written down. And then all of a sudden it was written down. Um, I am drawing a blank at the woman who wrote it, but she wrote it all down. She wrote the teachings down. She wrote the history down. She wrote the characters that we use in a session to bring in different types of energy and to help support the person that you're giving the session to. And I can't. It's drawn a complete blank on that. So I'll write her name in the summary because I know I'll remember it at some point. And then it was available to everyone. Like, you could buy this book and you could go through it, teach yourself, know all of the symbols to be able to use. And it's wonderful, in my opinion, that it, again, was demystified. Like, everyone should have access to this. And I actually, in my own experience, believe that we all actually already have Reiki, and that energy is available to us, and that we're actually tapping into it, whether we know it or not, and whether we call it Reiki. And that's kind of the spring of where I jumped off and decided that I was going to feel this energy and honor its presence. It to me, the energy is alive and it has a consciousness. And when I say that, it's like it's almost speaking to me around, put my hands on someone's head, put my hands on someone's belly. Don't touch a particular person when they're laying on your table. So I had the beautiful experience of wonderful teachers and wonderful support, where I was part of a community where we would do Reiki shares. That's what we would call them. And anyone that was a Reiki practitioner had gotten a level 1, 2, or 3 attunement could come and could group. One person would be on a table and we'd have multiple people around us and they would all be doing Reiki. And so it was like a power session almost. But it helped to feel other people's energy, to feel my own energy in the presence of someone else, and that the collective Reiki energy to that one individual that was on the table. It helped me recognize that we're all connected and that we're all, when we are of good intent, doing the very best and offering this universal life force energy in an untainted way. And one of my teachers would always tell me, be the bamboo reed. So if you've ever looked at a piece of bamboo, it's hollow in the middle, but it's so strong. I mean, people build structures out of it and rooftops on it. And so it's so strong, but it's hollow in the middle. And that's exactly what I visualize when I am about to give a Reiki session to someone, because it is not my energy. I am not giving Danny Palacio's life force energy to that person to support them, to heal them, to shift something, to relieve their pain. It is universal. So I absolutely visualize it coming down through me and out me. And yes, hands are the primary conduit for that. And actually, as I'm talking about it, my hands are starting to warm up, which is a very common experience for me. But just my presence, my being in the same room close to someone else on a table or sitting in a chair or wherever, is the energy of the flow of Reiki moving through that life force energy. And I, over the years, have described it as love, because I believe that love is the highest vibration available on this planet in a lot of ways. And so I've kind of started to view it like I'm giving unconditional love from the divine. And again, this life force is always present. It's not like it's off planet or it's, coming from some entity or energy, god or goddess. It's not. It is the air that we breathe. It is the plants that grow. It is the sunlight that gives life. It is that pure, beautiful, powerful energy that does what it most needs to do in the person that's receiving it. because it doesn't have anything to do with the person that's giving it. And I have had Reiki sessions where the person giving it was infusing it with their own will, their own intent, their own whatever. And it felt weird. It felt, well, to be dramatic, it felt dirty because it wasn't pure. So I also want to share that I have taught Reiki for years. I experienced my first attunement when I was in my early 20s. I had lived in Japan at a university school exchange program, study abroad, and I was drawn to the culture, drawn to the energy. I knew that I went to a bunch of temples for a reason. I didn't quite understand why. Ancient places on the planet, walking through bamboo forests, and just like being in awe of all of the amazement that Japan is. And I came back and graduated and started working at Intel, and they had a health fair. And I said, oh, I'm going to go to that on a break or during lunch or something. And I went down, and this one woman was doing chair massage, and her line was like out the door, which tells you how many people at a corporation need massage and energy work. And so I went to write my name down on the pad to get listed to get there. And I was like, oh my God, there's like 50 people ahead of me. So I took her business card, and I sat with that for several months and then found it in my desk one day. And I decided I got to call. So I did. And that was back in, let's see, I haven't thought about this in a moment, but I was probably 23. So 29 years ago. So that's what I say. I've been doing energy work for like 30 years because I kind of have been. And it was wonderful. And I also did my second attunement. So the first attunement is for your own healing. And you have to be willing and disciplined to do self Reiki on yourself, touching your body, touching your, your head, your back of the neck, your throat, your chest, your heart, your belly, like wherever you're called to put your hands for 21 days. And that helps the individual that's becoming a practitioner to clear, to heal. And it's beautiful. And it's a beautiful practice to get into. And in the 30 years that I have been a Reiki practitioner, I probably have done Reiki almost every single day. There isn't a day that I don't do it at some level. And it's so unconscious at this point. But as I share with you, it absolutely is profound. So if you get sessions, awesome. If you decide to get level 1 attunement, amazing, even better. You're bettering yourself. You're giving yourself an additional way of nurturing and self-loving yourself, taking care of yourself. And then if you want to actually work with others and you want to give Reiki, like be that channel, that bamboo reed for another, that requires Reiki 2. Because in Reiki 2, you learn about how to give a session, and you also get the symbols that are used for Reiki in the Usui tradition. There are other traditions, like I'm a Karuna Reiki Master as well. They have a lot of they have 12 different symbols that they use. And it's Karuna Reiki is different than Usui Reiki. It's still Reiki, but the school, the mindset, the download of the intention, Karuna Reiki is related to grace, to wisdom, to heart energy. And it's beautiful. And to me, it does feel very similar because it's all that universal life force energy. But Karuna is a little softer in some ways because it helps heal the heart. It helps bring in divine wisdom. And not that the Usui lineage Reiki doesn't do that. It does. But this is very intentional. with the Karuna Reiki. So again, the websites I've listed below will give you a lot more data and information if that's what you're interested in. So level 2, you can give Reiki to others and be a practitioner. And, if you want, have your own private practice. And then when you're really ready, and there's no time on this, it's a knowingness that you are willing to devote your life to the principles of Reiki, to, be the very best human you possibly can be, and to honor that you are going to be this as an example in the world. And I did that master attunement and teacher attunement in 2004. So it's been a long time. So I waited, several years, and it was worth waiting for, because it really was like super personal, intentional. I felt like my journey, my life experience was now ready to be that in the world, to really devote myself to not only giving Reiki and receiving Reiki, but also teaching it, helping others come into alignment, to clear what may be in the way, and to live in that energy of service. And so, if any of that sounds interesting or is inspiring to you, again, please reach out. I do teach, and there are website links that I've listed below that will help give some additional context, information, data. It is starting to be researched. I remember years ago when Reiki entered into the healthcare system, and it was like, what? But turns out that nurses, people that work with uh, patients all day long, that are healing, that are recovering, that are going through an experience because they're in the hospital or in a care facility, they started doing Reiki with their clients, with their patients. Not intentional, like not back up there. It is intentional, but it's not your traditional session, right? It's that they open up the Reiki energy because they, again, in the presence of another, want that life force energy to be available in a way that's accessible. Like, imagine it as a glass of water. You can have a cup or a glass out, but if it's empty, it doesn't have any water in it, it's just a cup. And so Reiki is like, here's a cup and it's full of water, and you can drink it, you can sip it, you can just have it next to you, and it's supporting you, right? So I guess for me, I wanted to share about Reiki because, again, it's the single experience, practice, devotion that has ultimately created a foundation for everything that I do. And to be honest, I don't do a lot of Reiki sessions. I have taken that understanding of universal life force energy, and I have explored where this life force energy can also be found. And it opened up doorways for me, possibilities like crystals or flower essences or nature in a new way, um, chanting, toning, understanding that energy is eternal. It's not ever destroyed, it just transforms. And so we can take a very heavy energy and we can infuse it with that universal life force. We can infuse it with good intentions and vibrations. We can shift it into a higher, more aligned energy for that individual, for a place. Reiki can be done on a house or in an office. It can be given to an animal. It can be given to nature. It can obviously be given to the earth because it has a vibration that resonates and is part of the earth. So it's fascinating what might happen when you start with Reiki. And that's my journey. That's my story, is that it opened me up to be willing to explore how and why energies exist, what kind of frequency they have. Not all energy is high frequency. It can be very low, right? And we know, though, that when frequency and energy increase and vibration increases, and there is like the highest frequency possible is so pure and so high that nothing low can exist in it, because energy matches, right? So you've got a high frequency and you've got a low frequency, and the low frequency may bring your high frequency down a bit, but what ultimately does happen is the low frequency has to rise to stay in existence, because the low frequency will be dissolved, will be cleared, will be let go. And so think about that. Like, let's say you're a very happy person and people love being around you, and they're always so grateful that you joined a meeting, a group, a team, and they love that about you. Like, they always say, oh, you bring such joy, you bring such goodness. That's high frequency energy. And the people in that team or in that meeting or in that group sometimes have lower frequency, right? They're disturbed, they're angry, they're frustrated, they feel unseen, they have a low of self-love and awareness that they're worthy and valuable. Well, they're low frequency and you're higher frequency. And so, of course, they rise when they're in your presence, and they start to feel more. I won't say better, just more. And it clears away the stagnation. It clears away the doubt. It clears away the cloud, right? Like, on a nice, beautiful day, if it gets cloudy, the sun will beam down and clear away that cloud. It will dissipate. And then it's a bright blue sunny day. And that's very much like Reiki, like this energy with intention of the patient or the client's highest, most amazing experience available in human form. With that kind of intention and connecting and being the conduit through that bamboo reed, it's so clean. And of all the hundreds, I would almost say I'm in the thousands at this point, of sessions I've given in Reiki I've offered to others, people feel ultimately relaxed. They feel calmer. They have more peace. It's also very physical. If you're in pain, Reiki can help soothe that pain, reduce inflammation, support the body's natural ability to heal. It amps it up, right? Frequency higher, lower. Illness, disease is a lower frequency than universal life force or unconditional love. So that distorted cell, that imbalance in the body has to rise to something higher. And that enables healing. That enables healing on all the levels of our existence, in the mind, in our emotion feeling body, in our energetic body, in our physical body. And so it's pretty powerful stuff. When you go for a session, trust your gut, trust your heart. So when you're called to have a session with someone, trust it. It's part of your journey. And then when you get there, make sure you feel comfortable. Make sure when you enter that room and you meet that person that you feel supported. You feel like they're really there to be of service, selfless service to you. And be open, share what's been bothering you, share what brought you in, share where it's hurting, share why it's hurting if you know, because information is wonderful for the human. It helps our brain process something, and that helps the bamboo reed, the channel of energy, to be more open, because the brain isn't interfering with bringing that energy in. And the practitioner will more than likely have set an intention that they are a conduit, that they are clean and clear, that their individual personal life experience and energy of the moment does not interfere with that universal life force energy. And I always tell clients when they're on my table is you don't have to do anything. So you don't need to think anything. You don't need to hold a high visual something. I often say, you want to do your grocery list? Do your grocery list in your head. You're thinking about something or someone, and it's fine. Like, this is not an experience or a practice that has a ton of rules. It's really there to just shift, transform, inform, heal, allow, so that your energy and your frequency start to align in a way that is life supporting. So, and sessions can be anywhere from, well, any time frame. It can be as quick as 5 minutes. It can be as long as you want. My sessions typically are an hour, and that includes, 10 to 15 minutes of talking and settling in. And because of my experience, I often start a Reiki session with honoring all that we are, all that I am, and all that that person is. And that means honoring their lineage, their ancestors, honoring the earth that we live on, honoring the stars and the moon that illuminate us, and bringing in that gratitude, and then starting a session. There are hand placements that are taught at the second level attunement, and oftentimes I'll still start with them, right? There's hands over the eyes, there's hands near the ears, there's hands at the back of your head, there's hands at the front of your throat, and then hands on your heart. And what I have found in those wonderful hand placements is that they really help the person get out of their mental, hamster wheel. And I noticed that people start to breathe deeper, slower, more intentional. Their bodies relax on the table. And it helps to move through the rest of the session. Now, I have a whole, placement for the body, the knees, the feet, all of it, the hands. But that doesn't mean I do it all the time. So, and here's the thing about Reiki, it goes exactly where it's meant to go. So if somebody comes in and they're like, oh, my knee hurts so bad, I tripped and fell on it, and it's really painful, I will, of course, put my hands on that knee. But that isn't necessary. I can put my hands anywhere on their body, and that knee's going to get what it needs. But our human mental minds are like, I have pain here. I need you to put your hands there so that I know that it's getting better. Okay, I'll work with the mental construct of what is and what makes sense. I mean, 1 + 1 is 2, right? But maybe it's not. So that mystery is something that I enjoy playing with. I hope that you have felt the Reiki in this podcast. I started with the Reiki energy before I got online and before I started recording, to one, have me connect and have me speak as a ambassador of that energy. And I want you to know that it's always present. It's always available, and you don't have to be in person to receive it. There's actually a symbol for distance Reiki because in the universal energy world, um, time does not exist. Time is not linear. And so we don't have to be in the same room with physically touching each other to have Reiki exchange. And your younger parts, which you've heard probably quite a bit about nowadays because it's getting so much more popular, but your inner children, your younger self, um, it's 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 the place that holds the memory, that holds the trauma if you have any, and Reiki can go back to your little 5-year-old, your little 10-year-old. It can go back into that essence, that energy, that quote unquote time, and offer love, offer healing, offer the opportunity to release. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we got to share some time together, that I had the opportunity to share with you something that I love and am passionate about, something that has changed my life forever and continues to support and change my life. And I'm so excited that I get to be in person with people that are near me now, having in-person sessions. But I am absolutely open and willing and joyful about offering a distance Reiki session or a distance Reiki moment. I always have a hard time with session. I'll have to work on that. So anyway, it's available always. And there are probably amazing practitioners in your local area. And I encourage you to give it a try. So may your day be blessed. Thank you so much for listening. Please continue to like and to subscribe on the channels that I publish on. It is helpful to reach new people, and I really would love to reach new people. And if you share it with your friends and family, I am honored. I am so grateful for that recommendation from you to another that you care about. So, again, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining.